Good morning. So I made a mistake. I try to watch some different news things every once in a while, or even read something on social media about what's going on in the area and keep myself updated, especially with what's been going on in Israel and Gaza. But, sometimes when we allow ourselves to watch the news too much, it creates a little bit of difficulty sometimes, whether it creates anger for you or frustration or this really deep sadness for some of the things that are happening. But we also have to remember, too, that when we watch the news or keep up with different things like that, how much of it is worded or written a certain way to affect us in those manners. So the mistake I made was watching a little too much, I think. I saw so many things when I was watching, and it began to anger me. And I felt that's when the moment was that I watched too much because it was changing my feelings in such a way that it was creating this negative feeling that, what's the hope that we have if all these things are happening and all these things are taking place? And I feel like that is the moment where God would be telling us that's too much. It's okay to be aware of some of the things that's happening around us and even in other countries, but when it starts to create this hopelessness in our hearts, then we've lost sight of what God is trying to encourage us and teach us. I was seeing things of school boards fighting with parents, parents fighting with school boards, people within the school, teachers, and everything. Just all these people fighting about different issues, and none of this has been locally to where I am, but just on the news in different areas within the state of Ohio and across the globe. Things that were happening like racism, hate speeches, misconduct, the way people are being treated and not listening to the authority they should, whether that be law enforcement or whatever situation it may be. Evil things that are happening of people losing lives, people being completely just uncontrollable almost in a sense of what they're doing, like they have no one that will keep them accountable. I was so surprised when I saw that there were so many political statements that were trying to be made at something that was supposed to be a just a worship of God. Music being played, small speeches to bring glory and honor to God, and there were so many situations where it was just somebody forcing a political view or a statement on people there. We've kind of completely lost that in those situations when we should be worshiping God. That's the most important thing. That is the priority. Not wording things a certain way or saying things a certain way so we get a political agenda pushed, but showing that every knee will bow and every tongue confess that Jesus is Lord and that Lord is still above all. And that's something I feel like we need to get back to. There's so many different situations where somebody says, this will fix it, this will fix it. And, I am a firm believer that there are situations when God leads us to stand up for these things, to have very important, whether it be walks or silent protests, or just having conversations with people about what we could do to help those situations. Organizations do develop some of these things that help us understand and help fight for the will of God to be proclaimed. But here's one that I think is a challenge. Sometimes we feel like maybe it's not our calling to be a part of those things. Sometimes we feel like those things can lead to just another political agenda. And you may be right. But there's one thing that we can do that will always change this. And it's something that we need to do more importantly. It has to start in our home. If we want things to change in our communities, if we want things to change in our church, if we want things to go back to believing in God and trusting in God, the scripture encourages us to have a fear of God. This isn't a scared in the dark, in the corner, afraid to even talk to God. This is a fear that we have out of respect, that God is the infinite being in control of this universe. And out of respect, we follow God's commands and we are obedient to his word. But that starts in the home. Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are older, they will not depart from it." If we want this hate to disappear, if we want racism to disappear, this misconduct, these evil thoughts, these horrible situations that are happening, if we want all of that to go away, the first place for us to start that is guaranteed to make a difference is in our home. Sharing God with our children, sharing God with our spouses, sharing God with our family, praying with them, reading with them, joining them in church. So many times we sit back and we say, I want this to be better, I want this to be better. And I've heard so many times it's just very unfortunate that God's not in the schools anymore. If we're training up children in the way of God, then God will always be in the school because God will always be in their hearts. We must start at our homes. We must start with ourselves. If we want things to change, we must look in the mirror first and then move on to what we can do in the community, in our family, or in this world. I hope you are encouraged today and encourage someone else. God bless.